Well, police say the 18-year-old gunman charged with killing 10 people and wounding 3 others in Buffalo in a racially motivated shooting there Saturday was wearing a camera live streaming the attack to the gaming platform Twitch at the time. Now, there are reports he partly was motivated knowing that people would see it on a live stream. Twitch is owned by Amazon, says it took down the live stream less than 2 minutes after the violence started. But social platforms have attempted to remove violent videos of shootings quickly over the past few years, but there's increasing pressure on them to do so. And joining us to discuss is former acting Homeland Security Secretary and Executive Director for America First Policy Institute, Chad Wolf. Chad, great to see you today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So Twitch says it took the video down, but it didn't matter. As you know, copies are made, people share it, it's reposted, and there's reports that it was up even on Sunday, the day after. What's your expert opinion here? How much more could Twitch have done? Should they be doing?
Well, I think a lot of these social platforms could be doing more. Look, we talked about it during the Trump administration with them, and I know that they have made progress over the last several years, but there's more and more that can be done. I think anytime you have a violent incident like we see here and they decide to live stream it, as soon as you can get that down, the better. The question is, what type of resources and investment are they making in being able to identify this type of violent content and then pulling it off their sites pretty quickly? I think there's wide consensus that this type of violent content should not be out there for every day for Americans to be watching, because it incentivizes others to do the same, which we see here. But we need to make sure that we're not talking about censorship. I don't think this is a question about censorship. This is a question about an individual choosing to commit a very violent act, is doing it and using a social platform to advertise or to have others watch that. So yep. I think that's an important point that we need to remember, and that's where we talk to these social media companies about pulling this content down and having that being an automated algorithm of sorts and being able to pull that down quickly. It's not enough to have people watching or looking at these platforms and then pulling it down. There's just too much content out there. So the more investment and resources that they can put into this, I think the better that this will get over time. There's been some progress. There's more progress to be made.
Chad, there has been some progress. I mean, all remember the gunman in New Zealand. He was live streaming his attack on Facebook at a mosque, killed 51 people. It took Facebook 17 minutes. That's a long time before a moderator got in, took that feed down. So obviously, you're saying more pressure on the social media platforms, but also you mentioned a very key thing here is about incentivizing. And tell us about the criminal mind and seeing this and how this could sort of motivate other people out there who see these videos, who have terrible ideas, terrible thoughts.
Well, I think the most difficult thing for law enforcement these days is the internet itself, right? You can be quickly radicalized to these very violent thoughts on all sides of an issue, and it's hard to monitor that. And obviously it's hard to pull down content, but it's also hard to identify individuals. So most of these individuals that are doing these violent acts want to make sure that they're publicized. They want to get credit for them, and they want people talking about it. And look, we're talking about it here today. This is part of what they hope to achieve. And so that's why they'll go onto these social platforms and live stream. That's why they'll, in many cases, they'll put out a manifesto of some kind on these social platforms. They want awareness for whatever issue it is that they're talking about, and they ultimately take to that violent act. And their idea is to publicize that as much as humanly possible. So I think anytime you're able to take down, you're able to pull that back, is going to cut against that narrative that these individuals want to see out there.
And we're not saying his name. We don't want to, obviously there's, you don't want to give people the attention that they are seeking, and you have to balance it with covering the stories and, telling the victims. We want to pivot a little. You just saw Jason Jones down at the border. I mean, obviously this federal judge's decision out of Louisiana could, decide what's going to happen, will decide with Title 42. What's your hope with this Trump-era policy that Biden wants to get rid of?
Well, look, at the end of the day, whether it's Title 42 stays or goes, there needs to be more focus on that border, and there needs to be more policies put in place by this administration that brings not only integrity back to the system, but also brings some deterrent back to the system. At the end of the day, if there's no consequence to an illegal act, which is what we see today with catch and release, then you're going to see these numbers that Jason indicated. You're going to see the 200,000 illegal apprehensions in a 30-day period, and having that number repeat itself month after month after month. So you've got to hold people accountable. That's what a little bit of what MPP is designed to do. It's what the border wall system is designed to do. It's what a lot of things were designed to do during the Trump administration. It's not only to make sure that we process individuals compassionately and make sure that those that need asylum protections get them, but also to root out that fraud, but also to say, look, if you know you don't have an asylum claim, so there's no reason for you to cross illegally and claim asylum because you're going to be removed very quickly.
Yeah.
So look, Title 42 at the end of the day is the only thing keeping this border remotely under control.
Well, and
DHS in March returned over 109,000 individuals in Title 42. It's 109,000 that would be released into the U.S.
And I guess, you know, as you said, the fate we will know in just a few days on whether it stands or not. Chad Wolf, is always great to have you in, the former acting Homeland Security Secretary. Appreciate your insight.
All right. Thank you.